very powerful film depicting intense situations, including explicit language and graphic images. What feelings and reactions did you have while viewing it?
Well, I said I felt like angry and sad for her. First of all, I felt angry because her mom basically made her do everything and was like, she put the blame on Precious for stealing her man when she was raped by him. So, and then I felt sad for her because all of this was just kind of like being put on to her because her mom made her like do all the housework and make meals for her and stuff, and just treated her like she wasn't even a person. So
I felt like how different our lives, or at least most of our lives here at YZ, are compared to hers. I just thought that was amazing how part of her life she grew up in, and she tried to get her GED and stuff and tried to make the most of it. So I give her a lot of credit for that, but it's crazy how much we have and how little she did.
Like, can you imagine not being able to read when you're in high school at 16? It's crazy how no one cared about you enough to teach you that throughout your whole life.
I felt really sad inside when I was watching the movie, and it brought tears to my eyes because, like, being a girl, I don't know if it's different for you guys, but just being a girl and, like, being treated with such disrespect, like, is so difficult to watch, especially when it's your, like, so-called loved ones and ones that are, like, supposed to love you unconditionally. And, like, the fights that she had with her mom and the words that her mom used were so disrespectful and, like, hurtful that hurt me inside. And, like, I can't even imagine living that way. And then also, what Adam said was how the mom was, like, trying to turn around and put it on Precious for, like, stealing her man and trying to make Precious feel even worse than she already does. And I just can't imagine living that way.
Yeah, the movie was really dark. Like, I felt like it, like this dark feeling, and like definitely undeniably the one scene that was really hard, and it's actually surprising that we would be able to watch that in school was when she was being raped by her dad. That was like pretty graphic, and like you could really, like, I don't know. It was just a short little scene. You couldn't see much, but it was still just so intense and kind of like moving as to what was really happening. And you could see in the background, I don't know if you guys saw the background, her mom was standing like in the hallway when it was happening. So that was kind of like everyone was just there in that intense scene in the movie.
I sort of reminisced a lot of like memories living with my stepmother, sort of like a similar sort of shamey aspect and abuse, and so that was a pretty powerful connection for me, just because it's more like a personal connection with Precious. Yeah.
I was really surprised at how Precious found motivation to go to the alternative school even after, like, you know, her mom disrespected her so much. So that was really surprising to me.
To answer the question of how does this like compare to our lives, how does it compare to like the Forged by Fire, this boy's life, and I really don't think it even can compare to it because it's just like the level that she was at. Like she couldn't even, like her mom would like knock her out by throwing stuff at her head and that kind of stuff, and she was raped and she had 2 kids. And I feel like those 2 stories and like our personal lives, none of us, at least myself for speaking, like I've never had something that bad happen to me. Like not being able to read or getting raped, having 2 kids, getting knocked out from my dad throwing something at me. Like I just can't relate to that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, one of the stronger feelings I definitely felt in the movie Precious was anger, and I'd say it was mostly directed towards like the mom because she was just like so abusive to Precious, and like one of the scenes that really stuck out was when she like threw the TV over the staircase down like to Precious while she was holding her baby, and also she like threw Precious's baby on the ground, and just like really surprised me like how aggressive and disrespectful she was as a person.
It's actually really interesting to think of her name as Precious, and then also the images that they would have that she kind of played in her head of her being like famous and like all these precious things, and she was so kind of she could be so precious, but like that just wasn't how she was treated. And And so like it's kind of like counterintuitive that her name was Precious, but she didn't feel like she was precious, quote unquote.
And going back to what Ashley said and how she was like thinking of being famous one day, and I think that just shows the hope that she had, especially when especially when she was getting it went to like the part where she was like dancing and famous. And I think that it's just really important that she had that hope with her throughout her whole entire life.
And then kind of going back to what Connor said, I agree with him because like although you hear like situations of maybe on the news of how bad family lives can be, just kind of like brought it to like real life to make you realize like how bad it can actually be and how lucky you actually are to have like a stable family, call it, and loved parents, and it just made me realize like how lucky I really am to be are.
I was a little surprised to see that Precious didn't really have any like thoughts that we could see of like suicide or any sort of like escape other than just like her daydreams and sort of fantasies of being like this like really precious person. So I don't know. That was kind of surprising.
I had two like major scenes that stuck out to me, and one was the one that Michael said when they got in the fight and she like threw the TV down the stairs. I just can't think of like a parent ever like, doing that to a child, or even like think of my parents doing that to me. I just think that's so like, insane. But then the second one was when Precious, she was like by the refrigerator or whatever, and her mom came over and she ducked when she tried to hit the pan in her face. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they just kind of like walk away from each other
Yeah,
after it?
I think
I just think that's so like weird. Like I don't know, like maybe that like happened so often to her that they just kind of like played it off after it happened. But I just thought that was really weird.
Yeah, that kind of relates to Forged by Fire, and like going and swing at them and just miss and they just walk away. Yeah, I noticed that too.
I definitely think that she walked away because usually Precious would give her that power of like when she would let her hit her or something or get hit by whatever she was throwing at her, but because she actually stood up to her for once or something that she doesn't normally do, she kind of felt that inferior and didn't feel so much powerful anymore, so that's why maybe more so she backed off and kind of was like, well, what the heck, I should have that power, but you didn't give it to me, so she like moves herself.
I thought one of the graphic scenes was the one Ashley was talking about when Precious was being raped, and I think that's the difference between Precious and Forged by Fire, because in the book you don't really visualize kind of what's happening to her necessarily, like it starts out and then it'll move to what Gerald is doing when he's away or something like that. And when you see it in Precious, it kind of helps you to be more emotionally involved and you connect more and you feel that anger towards her dad and her mom and whatnot, and that's kind of what helps you feel more emotionally involved in the movie rather than the book.
I don't know. Let me see if this will work. Where's the chair? Okay, so I think, am I good?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
I said that, I said, what did I even say? Like the pig feet, they kept showing the pig feet boiling in the pot. I just thought it was so disgusting. And then like her sweaty dad, and it just like all like tied together of how like gross and, disgusting everything was in that movie. Compared to like Forged by Fire, which is fire and intense, but I think Precious is more like disgusting and, dirty and sad.
Yeah, they both like really relate that where they use that imagery, like, because they did flash that imagery in the movie where there's no words but just images, and then that's kind of the same thing when Forged by Fire was a lot of imagery, and that's what can be really powerful too. You don't need auditory or words to really express them.
That was good.